What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wire Sports Podcast, episode 183. Tonight, for one night only, special event. It's sold out everywhere. You can't get in here. Arena is completely sold out. We're going to run a two-man show tonight. I'm your host, Uncle Shally, Mr. Bill Shawcross. As always, my esteemed colleague, my college Buckeye from another mother, Mr. Cottrell Simpson. How are you, sir?
Doing pretty good, Bill. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Not gonna lie, it was a day earlier. You ever have one of those things where like something bad happens, but then like you channel all that energy into like a positive thing, and you get like really excited? That's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
So
okay.
If we have time, I might have the most scorched earth. You got to be kidding me! It's not gonna be related to sports, but we'll see if we have time. Somebody, it's just, we'll get into it later. But that being said, we have a crazy show for everybody tonight. Yes, Gene is in Mexico. Doing his work thing. He is doing his President's Club for being an outstanding employee. His reward trip every year. That is where he is. I would like everybody in the comments, though, to post in what kind of drink you think Gene's drinking in Mexico. Is it a pina colada? Is it a Bahama Mama? Maybe it's a Malibu Bay Breeze. Whatever you think the fruity drink is, Gene might be drinking in Mexico. I'm curious. Put it in the comments to start the show. Before we get going, you see all the tabs at the bottom. We have a crazy show tonight. Lots of stuff to get to. We got to recap both NBA championship or NCAA basketball games. Both really good games. We'll get into everything. MLB, we may or may not have a special contributor for that segment. We will see. PGA, listen, for golf, if you're a golf fan, this is your favorite week of the year. It is Masters Week. It starts tomorrow morning. Everybody's ready to go. Augusta, Georgia, prettiest place on earth. We got golf for you. And then we have UFC. I think it goes without saying, this is the most stacked card they've ever had. It is insanity. If you are a UFC fan, you are going to be parked on your couch, recliner, whatever you do on Saturday, and you're going to get 10 amazing fights. We may have a guest host for that segment as well. So we're busting out all the stops. Gene's not here. I will say this: if you're here for the bracket, we decided to cut Gene a break, and we decided to postpone the Elite Eight votes for a week. So we're going to do it when he comes back. It is only fair. And besides, we wanted to give everybody the moment when Eric Taylor advances so you can see Gene's anguish. We didn't want him not be live when that happens. So we're going to save that for next week. So there is no movie character bracket this week. We're going to wait till Gene gets back from Mexico. NFL, we got college, we got NFL list, we got our top 5 running backs. We got a lot. So we got to get going. We're going to start with the NCAA men's championship game. UConn beats Purdue by 15. What I think, honestly, I think, Cottrell, I think you said it best in our group text the other day. If you were just kind of paying attention from January and you didn't overthink it, and you just looked at kind of what your eyes saw and you trusted them, then UConn was the best team. That is why I went with them to, in my bracket. That's why I picked them to win. I just thought they were going to have to play a bad game and somebody was going to play great to beat them. I think they were is one of those weird years where they're just a level above everybody else. So if they show up and play a B game, they're probably going to win. I'll give Purdue credit. I thought Purdue came out. They kept it close in the first half. I'm going to give Zach Edey his flowers as well. Connecticut kind of came out with a philosophy of, we're going to let him get his, and then we're just going to shut everybody else down. And not give anybody, anything else or easy looks. And it worked. I don't think anybody really thought they were going to come out and play with that defensive mindset, but it worked. But I got to give Edey his credit. I mean, I think he's taken a lot of criticism, probably a little bit some unwanted, in the media podcast world, the last 2 years. Kid showed up on Monday night. He really did. So But still, that being said, back-to-back champions for UConn. Coach Hurley came out right away and said he was not interested in the Kentucky job, which I thought was a little interesting. But he said he wants to build a dynasty in UConn. Can't blame him, especially with what he's probably still going to have coming back next year. But Cottrell, what did you think of the game? Did it play out exactly how you thought it was going to? Did you think it'd be closer? What did you think?
I definitely had hopes for it to be a closer game. I definitely, thought UConn would win it. I said it last week. There was something in me that gave me kind of a feeling that I thought Purdue might be able to steal one. And that first half, I mean, it kind of like showed me that Zach Edey could potentially put the team on his back. I mean, I don't know what the exact point total was, but I want to say he had 16 points at halftime, and he looked like the best player on the floor. And UConn, it almost felt like their game plan coming into this game was that they were fine with that. If Zach Edey was to put up 40 points or 50 points or something like that, and they just didn't let any of their role players go off, they were perfectly fine with that. It almost felt like as well that Dan Hurley's entire mindset was no matter how much Zach Edey's beating us, we're not going to double him. At least not now. Like you saw in the second half, they started to go towards some double teams and things like that to try and force the ball out of his hands. But for the most part, UConn stayed home and they were like, hey, if Zach Edey is going to make that 10-foot hook or, the 8-foot turnaround, to his left, then so be it. And while Zach had a lot of success, you could also see that once that stopped working, that's really when that lead started to grow and grow for that Huskies team. And got to give UConn all the credit in the world. Losing 5 out of 7 or 8 guys last year that contributed to the national championship team, and then just run it back, and not just run it back, but to be even more dominant in this tournament. Their closest game the entire tournament, I believe, was a 13-point win. Like they never struggled in this tournament. Like you saw a little bit of glimpses of them being kind of down to earth in that San Diego State game, and then they won on that 30-0 run, and the game was out of hand. By the time you blinked your eyes. So got to give all the credit in the world to that UConn team and Dan Hurley. I think he's 100% doing the right thing. I wouldn't have even entertained that Kentucky job. Yes, it may have been more money. Yes, it is Kentucky. You've won 2 national championships here, and it's not like UConn is this slouch program. UConn is a team, and I know their women's have had a lot of success, but their men's teams has a lot of prestige as well. And, maybe not off of like the original bunch, but in reality, UConn is a blue blood basketball school. So
absolutely.
I think Dan did the right thing by saying, not even thinking about entertaining that Kentucky job.
I agree with you, because the one thing, if you go to Kentucky, what that comes with, it comes with a whole lot of expectations and it comes with a whole lot of criticism. So yeah, you're going to get paid more, and you might be able to recruit even a little bit more, a little easier, just name recognition. But to your point, if you're going by both sides together, men's and women, you can make a real strong argument that UConn's the best program in the country, and maybe so, even so in the history of college basketball. You have to look at. I think Hurley made the right decision by staying as well. I agree with you there. He's going to be a rock star there. Like that guy. That guy walks around town. Everybody loves him. You look at how they still treat Jim Calhoun, who I believe won 2, maybe 3 national championships when he was there before he stepped down. And then they kind of had that lull where they kind of really they couldn't find the right coach. There was the Kevin Ollie situation where I think a lot of people were hopeful that he was going to turn it around. But it got back to Hurley now, and now they're back-to-back champs. So, it is. I think you saw a pattern with UConn. I think you mentioned the key thing for me. They would go through a lot of these teams in the tournament you would watch. They would have bad halves. UConn never had a bad half. They might play bad for a 7, 8, 9, even 10-minute stretch, but it was like you said. It was always followed by then. They would come out in the second half, like you mentioned, the 30-0 run. I've never seen anything like that, ever. Like 30-0. Like they didn't score 1 point, not a foul shot, nothing. It would always be followed by they would come out hot in the second half. They would put a lot of distance between themselves and the other team, and then they would just cruise. They're just too good. and you look at the stats, and if you look at the stats, just look at the box score, you know, Zach Edey, 37 points, 10 boards. But then you look at the three guards from UConn. The big reason a lot of people believed in Purdue this year was they had Zach Edey, but they had the guards now that could shoot threes and take stress off of Edey and have an inside-outside game. Those Purdue guards got dominated in that championship game by UConn.
Yep.
Tristan Newton, 20 points, 7 assists, 5 boards. Stephon Castle, 15 points, 5 assists. Cam Spencer, 11 points, 8 boards, 3 assists. They let Edey have his, and then there's 3 guards from UConn just took over the game. And that was the difference. You got to tip your cap to UConn. And we'll see where we go next year, see who decides to come back, who goes to the league. I think there's a possibility he probably starts next year with at least 2, maybe 3 of those kids still there. And if he does, with guys that are going to leave Kentucky, North Carolina, the guys North Carolina is going to lose. You already saw the center from Arizona in the portal. I think you have to say, as we sit here right now, they're probably the odds-on favorite to win again next year.
Yeah, they gotta be.
They gotta be. So, that is, that's it for NCAA for the year. I do want to mention one thing. Gene mentioned it. I got to give a huge shout out to RJ Kaler. The dude absolutely dominated our show bracket. We will get with, when Gene comes back, we'll announce all the prizes and all that good stuff. I do want to congratulate RJ, though. RJ is a friend, been a friend from the show from the get-go, the absolute get-go, lifelong friend of Gene. 99.4% correct. I think there was somewhere around 18 million brackets completed. I was trying to find the number today, but it was right around there on ESPN. He was in the top 160,000. He was in the top 5, the top, 0.5% in the entire country. So got to give RJ credit. The other thing also is Nicole Seltzer. She filled out like 5 brackets. I think she placed 3 of them in the top 5. She was close. She did a great job. Give a shout out to Nicole as well. She's been a long time supporter of the show as well. So I just want to get over that before I forget, before we totally get off NCAA basketball. I wanted to congratulate RJ, though. I will also take my flowers for winning out of all the show hosts. I will graciously accept. I did. UConn pulled it out for me at the end. And I got past Cottrell on the last day. Gene with Tennessee going out early kind of sunk his ship pretty early, but I will take the W and I will put it on my wall of achievements for the show for my small victories. So, but that being said, let's move on to what some would say was actually the main event on Sunday, not Monday, the Women's Championship. South Carolina, Iowa. Kind of the unstoppable force, Dawn Staley's Gamecock team, and the superstar that is just continues to grow and is just she's a talk of basketball. I don't even know how else to say it. It's not really even college now, and it's not women's college. She is the talk of basketball. I saw the thing today. I don't know if you saw this, that she's projected to go number 1, obviously. And I guess the Indiana Fever, I think, have the number 1 pick. Yep. They've already sold out 19 of their 20 home games for next year already. Caitlin Clark, man, I don't get the criticism. I hate it. I don't want to get too far into that, but she moves the needle in a way that I don't think we've ever seen another woman do before. That being said, though, it's going to be a common theme of the show tonight. I'm just going to throw it out there, but South Carolina showed up. They finished the story. A little bit of revenge on their mind from last year. Like I said, it's going to be a common theme that runs after the show, but if you know, you know. They came back undefeated. They submit their place to be put on Mount Rushmore with all those UConn teams that won undefeated with no blemishes. Again, I hate to say it. I think a lot of people, I don't want to say we're rooting against South Carolina. I think a lot of people are rooting for Caitlin Clark for all the success she's had. She didn't win a championship. And I think they wanted to see kind of Iowa go out with a Cinderella ending here for her.
For
get
sure.
that and really cement herself, as kind of the GOAT or 1A. I know we've talked a lot about Maya Moore, and she is incredible in her own right. So I'm not going to get into that debate, but good game. Caitlin Clark did her thing. South Carolina is just so well rounded, and they just play tough. If there's ever a team, you know, I grew up watching when I watched women's Olympic basketball growing up. Dawn Staley obviously went to Temple. She is kind of has a lot of local ties to me. I grew up watching her play. If there's ever a team that embodies their coach and the way their coach played, it's South Carolina. They're dogs, man. They will guard you at half court, man to man, in your face. They are a tough team. 36 with 36-0, 37-0, whatever they finished. National champs. Like I said, they had their revenge tour. Teams like to call it that, and they got the job done. What do you think of Caitlin Clark though? Kind of goes out on a sour note, but the success and just the legacy she leaves behind is just on a different level.
No, for sure. I mean, legacy wise, and before I don't hold on, let me start. Let's do this. Let's do this
All right,
the
let's do
right
it. Where do you
way.
want to go? All right.
Give credit. I'm giving credit to South Carolina. They won the national championship. South Carolina is a team that's going to be they've been very good the last 3 years. They won a national championship. They lost in the Final Four, and then they came back and won another national championship. Dawn Staley is building a dynasty over there, and really the only important contributor that they're losing from this season is Camila Cardoso, who's going to go to the WNBA draft, probably be a top 5 pick, and she's going to go off and I think have a great career for her own right. Couple freshmen definitely wanted to spotlight though. Tessa Johnson, Malaysia Fulwiley, both of them. Malaysia is going to be an absolute superstar 2 years from now. I think she just needs a little bit more development. She came off the bench for South Carolina this year. It was absolutely insane. And to think with this South Carolina team, they didn't have any returning starters from last year's team. All of these players, like Cardoso obviously played last year. She was a big part of them, but they had Aaliyah Boston. They had Aaliyah Boston last year, who was their starter. So pretty much a fresh group here. Like I said, they had people that were on this team last year, so they did know what it felt to be like in those big games and to know what it was like to lose and to come back and finish the story. But just knowing that this team, they are as young as they are going to be a force for years to come. Now, on the flip side of things, just talking about Caitlin, her legacy is taken over the game of college basketball like no one else has ever done before. And she's going to be incredible. She's going to go to the W. She's going to be a 20 points per game score right off the bat. Now, I do think with that transition, she will struggle a bit just because she is going to be going up against some more adult women who are physical and essentially they're going to make it a point to try and shut her down every single night. Every single night she's getting these grown women's best. Just because one, she's a rookie, and two, you're going to have some older people that actually have ill will for her. They're jealous of the spotlight that she's getting, things like that. Then on the flip side of it, we see it across all sports how some of these vets treat the opposing rookies. So I think it's just going to be a mixed bag there. But Caitlin is still going to go be phenomenal. But I'll say this: if I'm the bad guy, I'm the bad guy. I don't care. Caitlin Clark losing the national championship puts all the college GOAT talk to rest. I understand she went to Iowa. I understand she could have went to a better school and played with other WNBA players and, had a shot to win multiple national championships. I don't care about any of that. You see teams like Kentucky, they've had the number 1, number 2, number 3, recruiting classes with all their talented players coming in. They don't get it done. And then you talk about UConn playing all NBA talent. What about, let's look over on the men's side. When Duke had Zion, Cam Reddish, and RJ Barrett, and they lost in the second or third round to a Michigan State team that didn't send anybody to the NBA. And I know it's, the men's game and women's game is completely different, but at the end of the day, I don't care how talented these teams are. When we're talking about any GOAT debates or any best player or, just top of the top, championships are always associated with that. And as great as Caitlin is, we have to put that into account when we're talking about her. And that doesn't take away from saying that individually, she is, one of the best talents we've ever seen and things like that. But let's not discredit Stewie for going 4 years, getting 4 national championships, winning 3 most outstanding players or 3 player of the year awards. Let's not discredit Maya Moore for doing the same thing. Like there's levels to it, and Caitlin will have her shot to do it at the next level. I think she will win at the next level. But for now, let's just pump the brakes on the GOAT talk and appreciate Caitlin for what she is right now.
All right, so I'm going to ask you this question. I hate that I can't disagree with you because I do think a championship matters in the long run, especially in college, because you're comparing her to the likes of, like you said, Stewie, who won, numerous. Even before that, you had Tarasi, you had Shamika Holdsclaw back in the day in Tennessee,
Candace has got 2.
Candace Parker, Maya Moore. So if we're going to say she's not number one, does she still make Rushmore though?
Well, my mind, Candace, Cheryl, and Stewie are like 3, no doubt about it to me on the Rushmore. They
Your
all
answer would
have
be no.
multiple. They all have multiple and multiple national championships. And they all have multiple player of the years. Caitlin Clark has two outstanding player awards, and so like she's definitely in that discussion. But in terms of just college greatness, my answer would be no.
All right, now the argument I heard earlier, which I don't think it outweighs a championship, but I do think it has to be factored in. She moved the needle more than probably all of them combined.
For sure. No doubt
You
about it.
know, 18.7 million viewers for the championship game on Sunday. Most viewed women's game since 1992. And it was the most watched basketball game in general, men included, since 2019. I'm not going to take anything away from Cardozo or anything like that. Those were all casual fans that became familiar with women's college basketball this year because Caitlin Clark. That's why those numbers did what they did.
Agreed.
I think you have to give her credit for that. I think if you don't want to call her the GOAT for necessarily achievements, I also think she's blazed a different path as a trailblazer and done more for the game than any of those other girls could argue, though.
I agree with you 1,000%. But I guess what I would also add to it, though, is that those numbers, I'm not saying next year we're going to get to 18 million because, like, I think that number was like really high because of Caitlin. But I also think in general, the women's game is at a much different state now than it was even back then. Like, I think Juju is going to be a bigger star than what Tarasi and Maya Moore, like all those players are at the college level. Paige, I think, is, if she's not there, she's on her way to being a bigger star than what all those other players that we mentioned are. Now, I'm not saying that any of these girls are on Caitlin's level. Caitlin has moved the needle to almost unreachable heights, just how much she's grown the game and how fast that she did it. But I also think that the girls that are coming up now, they're going to be more popular and just have people more interested. I didn't even mention Angel Reese, like Angel Reese being another one where if we would have got an Angel Reese in LSU versus a UConn team with Paige, and that was like a Final Four game, you would have still, maybe it wouldn't have been at 18 million, but you still would have had a double-digit million, viewer total tune in to watch them play because Angel and Paige are both superstars in their own rights as well. And that's just
Well,
where the women's game is.
I agree with that as well. And you would have a lot of people tune in to the LSU because they are the so-called villains. I think people would have tuned in to see them to lose, honestly. But we're gonna wrap this up. We got to get on to our running backs list real quick because, like I said, we got a ton of stuff to get to. We do got to keep rolling here. But Timmy
Absolutely.
Todd, I see you. What up, though? Petey, always a pleasure to have you in here, bud. And yes, that is a brilliant move by Staley, but she's not the first person to do that. Gino Ariema actually was the first guy to start doing that. He used to take guys that at the last cut of the walk-ons for the men's team, and they would scrimmage against the women all the time. So it's not an uncommon thing, but it definitely helps. I do agree. I think it toughens them up, and it's a different it's a different speed of the game. It just makes them more adaptable to play against other women. Tiny, how are you? Who's going for? I'm assuming I'm going first. I always go
I'm gonna
first.
I'm, I'm gonna get I'm gonna get Gene's list out of the way here because he's not
All right.
here, and I'll just blaze through it here really quick. So number 5, he's got Will Shipley, the running back out of Clemson. Number 4, he's got Audric Estime, the running back out of Notre Dame. Number 3, he's got Jalen Wright out of Tennessee. Number 2, he's got Bucky Irvin out of Oregon. And number 1, he's got Jonathan Brooks. Now, I don't know for sure what Gene like valued here on his list. My assumption is, and that wasn't a dig at him. I was just saying, like, I don't know, what made him put these players in this order, but just looking at this list, I feel like Gene values a lot of experience and he wants more mature guys that are going to be able to come in right away and be able to have that instant impact on the game. Will Shipley has a very adult body. I mean, he's going to run hard. Audric Estime, same thing out of Notre Dame. Jalen Wright, I think, is just a great athlete. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's a good runner as well. Bucky Irvin is my question mark with him. I don't know the reason why he's number 2 per se, but Bucky is a guy who is pretty good at a lot of things. He's agile. He can make one cut, ultimately go score a touchdown. And then Jonathan Brooks, I feel he just thinks that talent-wise, he's the most talented back in the entire class, even coming off an ACL injury.
This screams to me like Alex hacked the system, made the graphic, and just put it under Gene's name. Putting Bucky number 2, but we'll get to all that in a second.
All right, but yeah, we'll have you go now, Bill.
Yeah, so I want to be honest. To Gene's credit, the 5 spot for me was really hard here because it was between. I ended up going Ray Davis, Jalen. I went back and forth between him, Jalen Wright, Audric Estime, even Will Shipley a little bit. I think Shipley is going to be a little bit too much of a specialized back for me in the NFL. I think that's where he's going to project a little bit more. I don't think he's going to be an every down guy. That eliminated him. Ultimately came down to Ray and Jalen Wright. I went with Ray. I think he's a little bit of a more natural runner. I do agree with what you said. I think Jalen Wright is probably a little bit a better athlete, but as a running back, vision, Ray Davis is very actually underrated, catching the ball out of the backfield. If you watch any of his highlights this year, he has 2 or 3 amazing catch and runs for touchdowns on a Kentucky team that was, kind of fool's gold at the beginning of the year. But I went with Ray Davis, number 5. I said, like I said, great pass catcher, low to the ground, great, great balance. He's elusive and he's got decent speed. So I went with him, number 5. Marshawn Lloyd, I think, is a guy that could be 4. He could be off your list. He could probably be higher on your list. He's a breakaway guy. He is a phenomenal athlete. He ran one of the fastest 40 times at the combine. Played on a USC team that was very inconsistent. He's also a guy that, as soon as you watch film, he stands out. He's a guy that if he gets around the corner and you have no containment, he is going to rip off chunk plays all the time. And if you don't touch him at all, he might excuse me, he might go. Elite speed, elite burst. He's got to work on catching the football, though. And it's not something that's necessarily his fault. He didn't get to show it off a lot. Obviously, when Caleb Williams is your quarterback, he's throwing the ball downfield all the time. So he's number 4. Again, I think he projects he could kind of be a guy that's a steal. Number 3, I got my guy Blake. Great vision, great cutback, another low center of gravity guy, can run between the tackles. He's very hard to see, very strong, very durable. I think he lasts at the NFL level. I'm not going to get into his leadership and all that stuff, all the intangibles, because we'll be here all night. I think the guy, he's not a first-round guy. I've made no bones about that. I think he's a late 2, early 3 guy. But I think if he goes to a system where they're going to run what he is good at, I think he's a very solid NFL starter. I don't think he's all pro. I'm not, before I get any kind of, homer hate or anything like that. But I think he's a very good NFL running back, and he catches the ball out of the backfield better than a lot of people give him credit for. Next, I got Trey Benson from Florida State. I think this is the one guy that I was shocked was not on Gene's list. Another burner. I ran a 4.38, I think, something like that at the combine. Yeah, 4.38 40. Another guy, great burst, worked on his patience this year. 2 things he's going to have to work on a little bit to go to the NFL level. He's got to work on pass pro, He did struggle with that a little bit this year. But he's another one. He's an above average guy catching the ball out of the backfield. Shows great patience, has elite vision like Corum does. He is a guy that can be a starter in the NFL. He's another guy that can be a very solid running back. Number one, I have Jonathan Brooks. He was a guy that was in the Heisman talk, being one of the final 3 or 5 very late in the season until he tore his ACL. The kid can do everything. Bigger guy, vision, balance, patience. He can run inside between the tackles, can run outside. Very good, very, very good at catching the ball out of the backfield. He can do it all. If you're drafting him, you're hoping he's ready for training camp. If not, maybe he's someone you ease in. If you have a guy, have a guy in front of him that's only on like a 1 year, 2 year deal. He's a guy you can really let get healthy and learn the offense. And then he's probably like Jonathan Brooks, in my opinion, it has the biggest ceiling here and probably has the ability to actually be a star if he goes to a team that runs the ball a lot. So that's why I have Jonathan Brooks number 1. That's my list. Cottrell, see where we agree, where we disagree.
So I'll say this, and I'll get over to my list here. Trey Benson was the one guy who I felt awful leaving off. I think Trey is going to be a star. He was definitely my number 6. I just felt like even though Blake is the rival, felt like I had to give him the proper respect here. So I put him on the list.
I appreciate the integrity. I appreciate it.
I put Blake on the list here. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be an all-pro or anything special, but I think he's going to come in. He's going to be a workhorse for a team. I don't think he's going to be an every down back, but I think he's going to come in, make an impact. He's going to do his job. That's just what he's going to do. I can easily see him going to the Chargers, obviously with the Harbaugh connection there. I think they can get him in the 3rd round, and it's going to fit like a glove. He's going to have like 10 to 12 carries a game, and he's going to do exactly what they needed him to do. Number 4, I got Jace McClellan, guy who is very similar, in my opinion, to Jalen Wright. I think Jace McClellan just had the misfortune of being hurt a lot this past season. I think he has all the talent in the world. Just really hasn't had an opportunity to put it all on display. Number 3, I got Jalen Wright, who, in my opinion, is very similar to an Alvin Kamara type, where I know the Tennessee connection, they both went there. That's obviously there, but Jalen's a great athlete. He has great agility as well. He can catch it out the backfield, and it can also run. I truly think that this is a perfect match to an Alvin Kamara type player. Number 2, I got Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. I'll echo a lot of what Bill said. There's just a lot of question marks about his usage and where he was at with USC. But I think talent-wise, if he goes to a team that's the right fit, I think he could be a starting running back in the league. And then number 1, like I said, when I went over Gene's picks, kind of just throwing out why I thought he put him 1, it was the same reason why I ultimately put him 1. I think he's the most talented back in this class. And even coming off an ACL injury, I still think he's going to be ready to go come training camp. And he's going to be the running back in this class that makes the biggest impact. But with that said, Bill, I got a little bit of a shocker for you here.
Shocker.
We got the special guest. He's ready to rock and roll. And we're bringing him on for baseball. But I had to bring in our guy.
Did he do a list?
Our fellow Coast to Coast host. He's got a top 5 list.
There he is.
I'm here. Welcome. Well, thanks for having
me. Mr. iBlack, Mr. Alex Elmore. As the aforementioned Cottrell mentioned, he is one of our co-hosts for Coast to Coast, which will be coming back sooner or later. Best college football pregame show in the land. But he's also one of the co-hosts of the Wire to Wire Sports Network baseball show, Up and In, every Sunday night. Tune in if you haven't already. Him and Chris Hackney do a wonderful job. Good to see you, buddy. I miss you.
Appreciate you guys having me on. I haven't been on the camera with you two in so long. I feel like this is the first show.
Sorry, we jump right back into it. Yeah,
right,
everybody's tuning in.
That's
everybody's tuning in right now. That's right.
I do apologize. I'm lacking the eye black today, but that's all right. I'm taking a quick lunch break just to hop on with you guys and go over college football running back list, and then we'll jump into a little bit of baseball before I let you guys get back to being the awesome host that you are. I was watching your guys' list. I love what I'm seeing. Do you want me to just go ahead and jump on into mine since you don't have any visuals?
Give us your 5.
Perfect. So the one thing I really love about the running back list that I have, it is going to be slightly different than yours, both yours. However, in this class, I really maybe see one guy getting drafted in the second round. A lot of these guys are going to be third round or later, in my opinion. So a lot of them are really interchangeable as far as the list goes. I'm going to start with number 5, a guy that I was really a fan of. You heard a lot from me about him on Coast to Coast, and that's Will Shipley from Clemson. A guy I haven't really seen on a lot of lists. But even with being Clemson's primary offensive weapon last year, with their offensive struggles, he was still able to average 5 yards per carry. He's got great hands out of the backfield. He's going to be able to help out a lot of teams in the short passing game and ultimately be a really big third down, short yardage guy, I think, in the NFL. He doesn't have the highest top speed, but as far as getting up to speed, he gets there quicker than basically any of the guys out there right now. With number 4, we're going to jump into Trey Benson. He used to be at the University of Oregon, a former Duck. I loved when he was in town. He did end up transferring over to Florida State. But he's got great intangibles. Of the 5 listed running backs I have, he may have the least amount of experience, but he has probably the highest upside as far as potential. After his first couple of years in the league, if he goes to the right team and gets behind maybe an experienced back, where he gains a little bit more experience, he could be that number 1 guy for a few years for a team. And then, of course, Bill, I got to give Michigan some love. I got to give Blake Corum the love that he deserves. I have him chilling at number 3. He's got over 3,500 yards in his college football career, over 50 touchdowns. The only thing that kind of really throws a red flag at me, which I don't think will be an issue, but something to look out for, is from 3 years ago, he was averaging 6.6 yards per carry. Last year, he was down to 5.9, and this year he was down to 4.8. Granted, he ran the ball a lot more this year than he had in previous years. I mean, there was the game against Ohio State where he ran the entire second half was all run plays. So I think that definitely plays a part into that average dropping. But he has one of the quickest bursts from a juke move to full speed again. I was watching some of the combine, and when he was making some of those juke moves, some of the guys that were faster than him in the 40 time, he was able to make those cuts and get back to full speed faster than a lot of those guys. So I think he's something to really look out for. We'll go to number 2. I got to give my man some love, Mr. Bucky Irving from the Oregon Ducks. 1,180 rush yards, over 1,000 rushing yards, and over 6 yards of carry in back-to-back seasons. He's averaged 3 catches per game at every single game he's played in college except for 1. And one part of his game that's really overlooked is his returning ability. At Oregon, they did not use him as a returner. At Minnesota, where he started his career, he was averaging 41 yards per kick return. So I think when he gets into the NFL, I think that's where you'll see him make the biggest impact right away, and that's going to be the return game. And then we got number 1, which seems to be the consensus across the board, Jonathan Brooks. I really don't think we even tapped into his capabilities at Texas. He had 25 receptions last year, a part of his game that's really underspoken about. But the reason that is because 20 of those receptions were in the last 5 weeks of the season. So he did not use them in the passing game the first half of the year. Once they started getting him involved, the offense was really starting to go. So I think he's really underrated as a pass catcher, and that's where he's going to shine at the next level. I think Jonathan Brooks has got to be the number 1 on my list as well. And that's what I got for you.
Love it. Appreciate it. I knew you were going to stick Bucky in there somewhere. I didn't think you would go 2. I didn't think you would go 2, but I knew you were going to get him in there now. When I heard Blake 3, I was like, yeah, he might have him 1.
I thought about it, but Jonathan Brooks, I was hyping up the Jonathan Brooks train last year. I think we really all were. Blake Corum, he deserves his flowers, as we like to say on these shows. National champion, really truly the workhorse and the heart and soul of Michigan, and he's going to be that on the next level as well for a team. So
I'll be honest with you guys. If Blake Corum was 4 inches taller and probably weighed about 30 pounds more, he probably would be number 1 on my list. But him not having those intangibles play a big part.
Yeah, he'd be Derrick Henry. No shit.
Derrick Henry.
All right, let's switch gears though. It is baseball season. We're about 2 weeks in now. And like I said, we Alex was one of the surprise guys we're going to have on tonight. So we will see what he has for me and Cottrell. I think he's got some hot stove type things. We do not know what he has prepared, so this is all going to be off the cuff. You're going to get our honest, gut reactions to this real quick. So, Alex, the floor is yours, sir.
Appreciate you guys to bring me on the show. As always, like I already said, thank you again. So I'm going to throw a couple hot topics out at you. For me, a lot of teams are starting hotter than people anticipated, and some of them are starting a bit slower than they thought they were going to. So what I'm going to throw out here is a couple players, and a few teams. And we're going to talk about if we're going to buy how they're doing so far in the season, if we're going to sell, or if we're going to hold on to them to kind of take a look at, if their season's going to turn around for them. Okay, so we got a little buy-sell trade action going on. First off, the team we're going to start with, which is the team that I talk highly about every single week on Up and In on Sundays, and that's the Pittsburgh Pirates. All right, so far this season, they've started 9-3, the first in the National League Central Division, 6-1 on the road, plus 19 run differential. Are you buying, selling, or holding on these Pirates' early season success?
I want to buy. I'm going to hold, though. I'm not going to sell. I'm going to hold, and I'm going to tell you why. They've done this the last 2 years. I want Pittsburgh to be the 2024 version of the Orioles. I would love that. I think that division is super winnable. They have young stars. They do. They have talent. My question with them, as always, is do they have the pitching to get through the summer and kind of get through the dog days of summer? Can they stay healthy? O'Neill got hurt last year, and it's I'm going to hold. I would say I would almost say I'll cautiously, optimistically buy, but I'm going to hold for now. But I'm holding in a positive note. I'm hoping they can sustain it. I've said it before. They have a great fan base. The ownership just never puts any money into that team. They have the nicest ballpark in the country. If they could get into the pennant, if they can get into September and be in it, that place will be jumping. So I'm going to hold for now.
So I've been going back and forth if I wanted to hold or if I wanted to sell.
Oh,
I think I'm going to sell. Only reason being, I'm not saying 9-3 is the top pinnacle for this Pirates team. Like, I think they are still going to win more games and things like that. But if you're asking me if I think, even with them being 9-3 right now, do I think that they're going to be a team that's in the playoffs? My answer is no. So if I can sell them at 9-3, them being the top of that Central Division, this may not be the highest point I can get them at, but I take my profit and call it a day.
Cottrell's going for value.
Exactly. That's ultimately
ROI.
How I'm playing it here. Like if they were a bet, and I put $100 in, and you're giving me a cash out option of like $350, but I could potentially win $1,000. I'm cashed out on $350 because I don't think the rest of the parlay is gonna hit. So I'm selling the Pirates for the value of where they're at right now at 9-3. I do still think they're going to be good, but ultimately I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
All right. Anyway, I'll go ahead and answer my own question as well. I'm buying on the Pirates. Like I said, I've been high on them all season, starting off 9-3, 7-2 on the road, not to mention. Like I said, plus 34 run differential. That's nothing to laugh at. 5 come from behind wins already this season. Not to mention the best pitcher, either the best or the second best pitcher in their franchise isn't even at the pro level yet. Jackson Holliday just came up with the Orioles. We still got Paul Skeens making his way up. So I feel like if the Pirates do have any sort of skid that gets them out of that first place spot in the Central, I think we're going to be seeing him coming up, and I think that'll kind of get the boost that the fans need. I think they'll get the players pumped up. So I am buying on the Pirates, and y'all should too.
Just think about that pressure, though. If they wait to bring him up when they're going on his skid, and it's like, hey, we need you to come up and be our savior, like that would suck as a rookie. Like, you embrace it, but like that would suck.
He is a very high impact guy. He's the real deal. I mean,
I agree.
I follow a lot of college baseball, obviously for obvious reasons, but he is that spot's not. He
look.
Not only does he do well in it, he craves it. He likes being on camera. He's a very high profile girlfriend. Like he is not.
I understand.
He is not a shy guy.
I understand what you're saying, and I don't even disagree with you. I even told you guys during our baseball preview that had he been up, I probably would have picked him to win Rookie of the Year on the NL side of thing. I just didn't think he would pitch enough games because it's tougher for a pitcher as opposed to a field player coming up in the later parts of the year. I guess my biggest thing though is that yes, he can be ready for that, but like I'm saying, coming in with that pressure on you, I just think is going to be tough, especially as a rookie. That's all.
it's what you drafted him for. So I mean, no time like the present to see, see how he's trending and what he's got. He's also a power pitcher. I think it's a little bit easier for him to come in because he's going to throw hard. He's going to throw the ball by a lot of people. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Right, perfect. Well, that's going to wrap up the Pirates for us. The next team that we're kind of looking at, they either buy, sell, trade. We're actually going to jump over to the AL East, and we're actually going to go ahead and hop on board with the New York Yankees. Obviously, a team, one of the most hated teams in the country, starting off 10-2, 4-1 at home, 6-1 on the road. What do you guys feel? You buying, selling, or trading this hot start?
So
with the
I guess since Bill just went first and last one, I'll go next here. I'm going to hold on them for right now, only because, I mean, I think they're, again, kind of the same idea as what the Pirates were. What it's really going to come down to them, like for them, is their pitching. Garrett Cole obviously being on IL. I don't know what version of him they're going to get back. But if he's a shell of himself or, ultimately just can't come back this season, I don't really have high expectations for them. I think their lineup is talented enough to still make the playoffs, but I don't think they're true contenders at this point. So with all the question marks surrounding their pitching and just not knowing, what Garrett Cole we're going to get, even if we do get him back, personally, I'm going to hold on him for now.
Hate to be the downer, but I'm going to do the same. I'm going to hold, and I'm going to hold for the same reason. I think their offense has started out hot. It's won them a bunch of games. But that pitching staff, as it's constructed currently, is not going to win them a World Series. You put Garrett Cole back, a healthy Garrett Cole back into it, it's a little bit of a different conversation. So I am, to not get long-winded on this one, I'm wait and see with them strictly because I need to see, A, when Garrett Cole comes back, B, if he comes back, and see what he looks like when he comes back. So, I'm going to hold. I think they have. I mean, they definitely have the offense to do it, but they need to have an ace to get through the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on the board with you guys both as well. I'm definitely holding on the Yankees. I like what I've seen, being as unbiased as I can. Them jumping out the gate, I love what I'm seeing offensively from them. Their pitchers are pitching kind of above their means right now, so hopefully they're hoping that they can kind of continue that. Marcus Stroman is having a strong start today. One thing about the Yankees that kind of really leaves a bad taste in my mouth is the two losses that they do have this year are both shutouts. So the problem is that when they're on, they're on. But if you get like to the playoffs and you get like the best of the best pitching that you can see in the in baseball, which is the playoff time, and those pitchers are on, are they going to be able to kind of combat those? They got shut out by Galen and they got shut out by, I forgot who it was with the Blue Jays on opening day at Yankee Stadium. But what worries me is that their inconsistency down the stretch, if they can continue that. Obviously Judge is not having the power numbers starting off this early. We have Juan Carlos Stanton, who leads the league in strikeouts with 18 already this season. And then, of course, you've got Juan Soto, who's doing Juan Soto things and really showing why they were so hyped on bringing him in. So I'm going to hold, kind of like you said, Gene. I really want, or not Gene, sorry, Bill. I do want to.
God damn! Get rid of this.
I'm sorry. I was reading the chat.
Segment's over.
I was reading the chat and I was reading down.
Gene, on to the Masters. Thanks for coming on.
All right, bye, deuces, guys. But no, I'm gonna hold on the Yankees as well. And I do have high hopes for them in the playoffs. I do think they will get to the ALCS ultimately. But again, Garrett Cole is a huge part of that success that they could have. So I'm gonna hold on the Yankees. I apologize about that, Bill. I was reading the comments. I saw Gene's name. Gene came out. My bad. But Gene, if you are watching, good to see you, buddy. And then I got one more team for us today that I want to talk about. And this is probably a team that we didn't really expect to start off this slowly, and that's going to be the Houston Astros in the AL West. They're starting out 4-8 this season, 2-5 at home, continuing at-home struggles. You buying, selling, or holding the Astros this season?
This one is tricky because of the news of this week. Normally, to go back to Cottrell's business model here, I would buy here. I would buy low here because the tremendous upside, the experience, the superstars they have on the team. But they're kind of in Yankee territory right now. You're going to get Lance McCullers back at some point. You're supposed to get Verlander back. Now it looks like Framber might be done for the year. So now you're kind of getting into that, you have a very good Texas Rangers in that division. You have a very good Seattle Mariners team in that division. Oakland and Anaheim stink, but you know, that is not quite the cakewalk that it was even 3 years ago or 2 years ago, especially with the moves Seattle has made. And obviously Texas is the defending world champions. So my gut was to buy. I'm actually going to be Mr. Vanilla here, and I'm going to go hold. I got to see what's really wrong with Framber here. I know Verlander is getting close to coming back. I don't know how far along McCullers is. The only reason I think I lean a little bit buy out of this is they're also not hitting. I know Jordan's going to hit eventually. I know Altuve is going to hit. I know Bregman's going to hit. I know Kyle Tucker's going to hit. They're going to hit. It's early. We're 2 weeks into the season. There's 150 games left. So I'm a very, very, very optimistic hold, slightly lean towards buy.
So for me, I'm buying. Bill, you already talked about the business model, so you get it. I 100% think their bats are going to wake up, and once they get Verlander back and they get Lance back, like I think even if Framber's out, that's a huge blow for them. Like don't hear me and think that I'm underselling how big of a blow that would be. But I think if you get to the playoffs and you have a rotation of Justin, Lance, and Christian Javier, that's a formidable like rotation for sure. And then you got Josh Hader in the bullpen, plus what that lineup is. So I even think with Framber being out, even if he's out the entire year, I think this Astro team still has what it takes to be serious World Series contenders. So I'm buying low. I think the talent will wake up. This is a team that I just feel like they won't be a denier from the playoffs. And if they get there, I think they got just as good of a shot as anybody with or without Framber. So I'm buying.
You know, this is where we are going to be different because I'm actually selling. The reason I'm selling is, like I said, they've allowed 50 runs this season. They've scored 50 runs this season. They lost, 10 of 12 at home going back to the playoffs last season. The team that's made it to the ALCS World Series multiple years in a row, showing struggles in the postseason at home where they've showed success in the past few seasons. Also, Verlander, you guys talk about him coming back. He had his first start yesterday for the Sugarland Space Cowboys. Probably one of the best names ever, by the way.
Great name. Great name.
They're no Toledo Mud Hens, but you know.
Yeah, right. No Mud Hens.
You're right. You're right.
He threw 65 pitches, 41 for strikes. The problem is he gave up 6 runs and 5 walks. So not the greatest, first game back out, on the hill for Verlander. So I'm not quite sure how close he is to coming back. Hopefully he is able to improve those minor league numbers. But I'm looking at these, and the Astros are just getting older. All these teams are signing younger guys, bringing up their, guys from their AAA and AA teams. The Astros are just old. I mean, they're all over 30. They're all kind of at the twilight of their career. They only have a couple guys that are still, like under 27 years old. I think this might be the downfall of the Houston Astros, where they may start needing to rebuild, and we'll probably start seeing the Astros of the National League Astros, where they're constantly last in the Central. I think that's kind of what the direction they're heading. So I'm selling on the Astros. I'm already jumping off the bandwagon. I had them in the World Series in my preseason pick on Up and In, and I'm already jumping off that ship.
I think you're selling too early.
You know what? I did it with Dogecoin, so why not?
You can't buy high and sell low. That's how you lose a lot of money.
Way too late on that, my friend. Way too late on that.
Bad business model, man. That's
the wrong model.
Oh, I know it is, but like I said, the Astros, like they're going to be fun to watch all season. Obviously, ripping them, for slamming on trash cans and Altuve looking like a little kid on an iPad. That's going to be fun. But watching them play baseball has not been fun for the Astros fans. The friends that I have are Astros fans. They're not speaking about them the way they have in the past few years. If they would have had a slow start like this last year, they'd be like, World Series is still in our grasp. Now they're kind of like a little more worried, hoping that these pitchers can come back and make a difference, kind of like you guys are saying. So I'm going off the fans' opinions, and they've seen success recently. So I'm judging that they have a pretty good grasp of their team, and they're not feeling too strong about them. So I'm jumping off the bandwagon with the rest of the Astros fans.
All right.
Anyway, I got one more question for you guys before I know you guys are moving on to the PGA soon. I'm going to hop off. One more question for you. I got the National League Central. Every single team is at 500 or better. The St. Louis Cardinals are 6-6 at the bottom. Do you think there will be? Is this the year we have 2 teams from the NL Central making it to the playoffs?
No,
No,
I don't think there's
no.
enough room.
You're
Really?
definitely getting 2. You're definitely getting 2 from the East, and the West is too good. I mean, with the Dodgers, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants out there, and Arizona. No, I don't. I think you get 1. That's it. Because honestly, I think at the end of the year, that's about where they're all going to be. I think you're going to have one team that's probably 6 or 7 games over 500 to win the division. Because I think that whole division is very evenly, kind of just, thrown into one kind of pile. That was the hardest division for me to pick a winner. I think the teams are very similar. I don't think anybody is going to have that like Baltimore type breakout where they go win the division by 15 games. I just don't see it.
What about you, Cottrell? You thinking only one team? You said.
Yeah, I only think 1 as well, and I think just looking at just the level of competition, like that would mean that one of the Central teams would have to be. Again, you guys probably don't want to hear this, but you probably actually agree. That means they're going to have to get in over the Giants, the Padres, the Phillies, or the Diamondbacks, like a team like that. So I don't personally see that happening, but I think that this could be the most interesting race though on the NL side of things. Like I think it may come down to quite literally the last day or the last couple days of the season. But I just think the NL is too tough for them to get 2 teams.
Right.
If you're hoping for that, what you're really relying on is with Washington, Miami, and the Mets just being awful. The Phillies and the Braves are really going to separate themselves in the East. You're hoping that the Giants, the Padres, the Dodgers, and the Diamondbacks just beat the hell out of each other. Like they all go like 500 against each other and all just kind of stay the same. Nobody like separates at all. So that's what you have to hope for if you're looking for that. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Dodgers are obviously going to be the Dodgers. I think the Padres, the Diamondbacks, and the Giants are all very good. They're just going to win more games. They're going to beat up a lot of other teams, especially in the National League. I think they're going to have success against that Central Division. And like I said, the bottom of the East Division, I think a lot of teams are going to beat up on them too.
All right. Well, that's what I got for you guys for this buy-sell trade edition of Wire to Wire. You guys got any questions for me before I bounce out and let you guys bring on somebody else or continue on with the show?
The only question I got for you is, are you I know it's only April, but are you mentally preparing yourself already for Oregon to come in 4th place in the Big Ten? Like, are you ramping that up yet or not
yes,
quite?
I am.
4th?
Yeah,
Say 4th.
Who do you got? Who do you got before that?
Who's the 3rd team?
You gotta, hey.
Oh, see,
I can't give you everything now. I can't give you everything.
But you put it out there. You put it out there. You can't stay 4th.
Now.
You know 2 of them. Who's the 3rd team?
Iowa? You put Iowa? No, you put in Iowa. USC?
Penn State.
Oh, bro. All right, we'll discuss that on our other show. We're not doing that right now. Alex, I'm with you on this one. That's blasphemous to me. I'm just gonna say
crazy.
it.
They got the better quarterback, but
And that's all they got though.
When you guys start talking about college football, have me back on and we'll have a nice day about this, Cottrell. I'll have stats, numbers.
We're gonna end the segment on that. That's wild. All right, Alex, we do gotta get going though.
I appreciate it.
We do appreciate. Thank you for coming on. Like I said, if you guys haven't watched the show yet, him and Chris Hackney every Sunday night up and in 8:00, I believe.
8:00 Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific.
8:00 Eastern on the Wire to Wire Sports Network. Tune in. They do a great job. Tune in, give them a shout out, give them a share. And my brother, I miss you. Happy to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Saturdays aren't too far away, my friends. 2 more weeks until the Oregon spring game. So expect some news from me after that. But enjoy the show, guys. Thanks for having me and appreciate you guys.
All right. See you, Alex.
Now, we're on to one of my favorite weekends of the year. Obviously, we're going to go to Augusta, Georgia. Augusta National Golf Club, the Masters, the tradition unlike any other, the prettiest golf course in the world, on the planet, on this big rock that we float around on. It is perfection. Tiger's back at it. He's going to try to give it another run. let out some more medical news this week that he actually had his ankle fused. It doesn't really even rotate in certain directions now. I will say this: love him, hate him, think he's the GOAT, not think he's the GOAT. Whatever you want to do. Man's tough. The man's tough. The man does not know the word give up or quit. And that's something you have to really respect and appreciate Tiger. That being said, I'm going to say this. I don't want hate. He has no shot of winning this tournament this week. I'm just putting it out there. I told you guys last year he didn't. It's not going to be any different this year. I really think if he can avoid any serious injury this year, get back to a pattern of where he can ramp up for, 1 week every month and really get into a schedule that he can keep and get on the course on a routine basis. I think come next year or the year after, I think he has one more run in him. I'm not going to say he's going to win it. I think he has one more run in him. I think the weather's going to hurt him this week. He's going to tee off late tomorrow. They're expecting bad weather, which means he's not going to finish tomorrow. He's going to be up at the crack of dawn Friday, finish his first round, then go right back out. He's probably going to play somewhere around 27 holes or so on Friday. I just think it's going to be too much. The course is going to be wet. It's not going to be as fast. He's not going to get the roll out. He can't hit the ball as far as he used to. I think there's too many things against Tiger this week. That being said, don't be surprised if I'm dead wrong because it's Tiger Woods. But let's get into it. Give me your winner. Give me your long shots, whatever else. I don't know if you got any prop bets. I know you get into this sometimes. Tell me what you're looking at.
So I want to go to the chat real quick. They had some, Kyle specifically said, "Does Tiger make it to the weekend?" My answer is yes. I think Tiger makes the cut. I don't think he's ever in any serious contention. I forgot what tournament it was, but I remember when, he was right around that cut line and they made some extra stuff happen and he ultimately made the cut. I think you're going to probably see something along the lines of that in this tournament. Now, obviously, I don't think it'll be like that just blatant, but I think Tiger's going to float around that cut line. He's ultimately going to make it. And I could potentially see him, withdrawn on day 3 if it starts to get out of hand or if the weather's still bad then. But I can also see it where he tries to make a little bit of a run. He gets himself within, maybe 4 or 5 under, something like that. Never in any serious contention, but just giving himself the mental confidence to say, hey, I can still golf at a high level, and this isn't even me at my best. So I got something at least that I can build off of.
So if you're betting odds, I think it's very close to like even. I mean, you can make money on either side of the coin here, depending on how you bet it. Here is what is. I've already mentioned what's going against him. Here's what's going to help him. Again, I don't think he contends, but here's what's going to help him make the cut. A lot of the big guys, like Brooks actually goes out the group after him. Scheffler, Spieth, a lot of the really big names are going out around the same time as him, so they're going to be in the same boat as him. I don't think what he really needs to avoid is having somebody in like one of those 9 or 10 o'clock groups go out, get their round done, and go out and put like 6 under on the board or something. If anybody goes out and goes super low tomorrow, that is bad.
Got to go chase him. Yeah.
Yep, correct. Because now he's chasing on a wet, windy course, playing a round and a half in the second day. I just think it all adds up too much to him. So if he can go out, even if he can hang around even and then have nobody else go out, I think Scheffler's the biggest name that goes out earlier. I think he goes around 10:30. He's going to be playing in a lot of wind, though. He'll probably finish before the rain gets really bad and maybe the other guys don't. I hope not. If you're a Tiger guy, you're rooting for him to make the cut. The worst thing you want to see is Scheffler go out and shoot like a 66. That's the worst thing you want to see because he's going to then go sit, relax. He's not going to go out till late Friday. And then if he shoots like a 70, that puts you at 8, gives you very little leeway. I mean, if Tiger's anything more than plus 1 or 2, he's probably not making the cut. So I think I think there's certain things that are definitely going in the advantage. The weather's still iffy, but it looks like they're going to get rain and wind. But you can make money on that either way. Like I said, I think he's pretty close. I think he's like plus 115 one way, minus 110 the other. I can't remember which, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a good tournament, though.
For
But who
sure.
you got? Who you got winning? If you have any long shots, whatever you want to do.
So yeah, I'll give my long shot first here, and I feel like obviously we cover the Masters on Wire to Wire pretty much every year. Thing with the Masters is I love players that have not only played the course multiple times, I love players that have won on the course or that consistently play well at the course. So even if they're not playing well this season, they can go to Augusta. They know what they need to do to put themselves in the right spot. And so for me, and I'm looking at the odds and things like that, you give me a guy like Dustin Johnson at plus 4,500 that's won at the Masters before, and those odds are as as low as they are. I like him as a long shot at that number. I think Dustin's a guy who can go out there, who you've seen, when he's at the top of his game, especially there, he's going to be a tough guy to beat. So if you're giving me him at 4,500, why not just sprinkle a little bit of money there? Now, of that same token, I know this is a guy whose name always gets thrown around at every single golf tournament that we do. I just feel like at some point he has to win one. He finished tied for second last year. He finished tied for second a few years ago as well. Typically plays well here. I'm going with Brooks Koepka to ultimately go on and win the Masters this year. He's at plus 1,800. I think he knows what got away from him last year. And I personally don't like how much attention and how low the odds are already this year right now for Scotty. I think he's getting way too much love, and I think that just opens the door for somebody behind him to just sneak on in and ultimately win the tournament. So it feels like Scotty is just odds on. I mean, they had him at plus 375 last I looked, and it was like that's the lowest anybody's ever been at going into the Masters. And so for me, I'm like, give me the guy that has the experience. Not saying Scotty doesn't, but that's a lot of pressure. Lowest ever. And I've seen Tiger back in his heyday and things like that. And he wasn't that low. Yeah, I'm going to go with somebody outside of the field. Give me Brooks Koepka at plus 1,800 to ultimately go on and win it.
All right. So I love where your head's at. I agree with you on Scotty. I think Scotty's on fire. He's playing on another level right now. But I think the unique thing about the Masters is it's the major that's played the same course every year. So, like you said, there's guys. It becomes less about the unknown and it just becomes strictly about execution. That's why the Masters is so interesting and unique. Like you said, if you're playing a new course for the maybe only the second or third time at a tournament, you think you know where you have to hit the ball, but you still might get a different result, or maybe you miss it a little bit and it goes somewhere you don't think it's going to go. Whereas Augusta, it's like you said, if you've played it 5, 10, 12 years, you just have to execute the shot. You know where you have to put the ball. And that's why the guys that have played there year in and year out and won there numerous times, you look at some of the old guys like Fred Couples last year, who's won there before, has a gazillion top tens there, made the cut at 62 because he just goes out and knows where he has to put the ball. And if he does it, he's going to be okay. I just think there's too many good golfers in this to just be that high on Scotty. I mean, again, your 375 is not chump change, like Cottrell said, but the defending champion, Jon Rahm's like plus 1,200. Rory's plus 1,200. And then you get the next step down is Brooks and all those guys, which just have straight disrespectful odds. Brooks the best major player in our generation, not named Tiger Woods. It's just a fact. And he's plus 2,000? You got to be kidding me. The guy was winning with 12 holes to go last year. So I'm going to start it this way. I mentioned it earlier. We mentioned it with South Carolina already. A couple other things. Finish the story. Brooks knows he let one slip away last year. Like I said, he was winning. He was winning at the turn. The man was dominating the tournament for 3.5 rounds. Rahm caught him. Brooks had 2 really bad holes that cost the tournament. 2 years before that, he came in second again when he blew up at 12 when he hit his ball in the water. The year before, or 2 years before that, I think he finished third. He was in contention with 5 holes to go. This man is going to win a Masters. I think he finishes his story this year. I'm a huge Brooks guy. I make no bones about it. I'm unapologetic about it. Brooks gets it done this year. It'll be number 6, gets a green jacket. My two long shots. Matthew Fitzpatrick, Will Zalatoris. Will's coming back off of back surgery last year. He's continuing to look better week in and week out. He's a very good shot maker. If his putting is on, he's a guy that can be there. Matt Fitzpatrick is a guy that just steady down the middle, hits the shot needs to be shot. Again, if he can putt well, he's another major winner. He's won a British, won a U.S. Open. The guy can contend. Those are my two long shots. They're both right around plus 4,000, plus 4,200 in that range, depending on what book you use. So starts tomorrow morning, bright and early. Get up. I will have it on in my office the second I walk in. I cannot wait. I just love it. There's, it goes back to when I really started to get into golf. It was the one thing I always did with my dad every year. He always made sure he had that weekend off. We watched the Masters. It is still a place I'm hoping one day I get to go. But it is, it's just different. It's just different. That's all I could say. But like I said, that moving on. Speaking of a place I did get to go, and speaking of finish the story, the first time ever on this show, we're going to talk about WrestleMania. We're going to talk about last weekend, WrestleMania XL held in Philadelphia. I was there Sunday. I don't have a word to describe it. I don't. It was an incredible day. I have been in that stadium numerous times for football games and big football games. I will tell you that they don't hold a candle to what that crowd was like on Sunday night at WrestleMania. Electric would not be even in the realm of doing it justice. It was incredible. It was one of the best atmospheres of any live sporting event of anything I've ever gone to. That's all I could say. It was unbelievable. We'll run down Saturday real quick. We're not going to stay on this too much because we do have to get to UFC. But what were your highlights from Saturday? Like I'll just go over. Obviously we had Rhea Ripley, who is she's not one, but she's a top 3 star in the company right now.
Yep.
She defended against Becky Lynch. She won. Awesome Truth. Hilarious, but they won the Raw Tag Team titles, which was great. R-Truth, if you're not familiar with it, has been in WWE, I feel like, forever. They kind of finally gave him his WrestleMania moment, which was great.
Yep.
Sami Zayn beat Gunther, which I think was kind of the swerve on Saturday night. I think a lot of people thought Gunther was going to retain. They threw Sami another bone, which, if I'm being honest as a fan, it's the one booking decision I didn't like. And I don't like the way the match played out, if I'm being honest. I think they made Gunther look very weak, which is crazy when he's on an almost 700-day reign. And Sam, every time Sammy's had a belt, it's just been very underwhelming. So I'm very surprised that's the route they just went with, just putting Sammy over clean like that. I thought if that's what they wanted to do, then I thought, in my opinion, Chad Gable was the move there. Chad Gable would have got an amazing pop if he would have pinned Gunther in that stadium. Jey Uso beat Jimmy Uso, which to me was surprising because it was the dud of the weekend. As over as Jey is right now, that match, I hate to say it, that match sucked. It was very blah. The only moment, which was really cool or even interesting at all, was, Jimmy kind of being like, I'm done, like I quit. And then of course he was going to try something smooth, and he did. Jey won, which was the right decision. Jey had to win there. You can't stop his momentum. But for the caliber of wrestlers both those guys are and the charisma they both have in different ways, and with the rivalry of actually being brothers in real life, they're twin brothers. I thought it was just blah. I was very disappointed in that match. And then you had the whole shebang. Rock and Roman over Cody and Seth. In my opinion, it ended how I thought it was going to end, to set up Sunday. What do you think about Saturday? Highs, lows? I know Godfrey's in here now. He's a big wrestling guy.
So I would say biggest high, of course, had to be the last match of the night. I would say it was not only just impressive because of like what happened in it, but for that match to have went on for as long as it did, and that's Rock's first time being in the ring in 10 years or whatever that number is. Like, I thought that was impressive, and while it did go how I thought it would go, I thought it was everything I needed to be and then some. And then it really sets you up like how we thought it would and how we knew it would. It sets you up for Sunday. I think it puts you in a great spot. Now, like on the flip side of that, I agree with you 100%. The Jay and Jimmy match just was not what I was hoping that it would be. I thought there could have been a spot in there for just some kind of crazy chaos, maybe even start up like a bloodline feud where you even potentially later on get Roman in there because now, I mean, he's still, tribal chief, but no longer has his belt. Like maybe you have some sub storylines along the way to like the next big event there. But Godfrey, I agree with you 100% as well. Like with that tag match. And then I thought like the funny moment is I love R-Truth getting the belt, and then the next Monday on Raw, him being with the Judgment Day, like you got Damian holding up his belt, you got Rhea holding up hers, and then he just sneaks in the middle and throws up his tag team title as well. Like I think that's gonna be awesome. Like just him being around Judgment Day. Obviously, he's like this unofficial member. He swears he's a part of it. They're just like, he's just this guy that's around, but he actually has a belt now. Like, I just think they have so much they can do with that. So I love that they put R-Truth in a spot to get a belt there.
That man is an entertainer, and if there's anybody as a performer that understands the business and how things are presented to fans, it's R-Truth. Even during the match, like if you saw the one spot in the match, like Miz was getting ready to like climb up the ladder, and R-Truth is just in the corner being like, "Tag me in, like tag me in," and Miz is like yelling at him. He's like, "Bro, like it's not a tag match. Like get your ass off the ladder." Like, dude, he's just so funny. Continues to call DIY DX. Like it's he's so good. I applaud Triple H for giving him his bone there. The guys deserved it. He was around kind of in the dead area of WWE where like a lot of people kind of fell out of love with it and didn't watch it. And he hung around. He's continuing to make himself relevant. And that's his first win at WrestleMania. And like I said, it was fun to see Triple H give him his moment, give him his flowers for everything he's done, and put the belts on with Miz. So I don't hate them as a tag team either. So like I actually think they get a little bit of a run. So I love that as well. The tag match, I agree. I think Rock looked great. Roman did his stuff, and then obviously Seth and Cody can make anybody look good. They would make me look good. So I thought that was very well done. The psychology of the match was great. We all knew how it was going to end, but damned if it wasn't just. It went back to like my late teenager, early 20s days, and just seeing Rock wrestle. It was awesome. So that gets us to Sunday though. Cody Rhodes finishes his story. I told you it was going to be the theme of the show. Goes over on Roman after like the craziest 5 minutes of a main event in the history of WrestleMania. You had a Rock running, you had Cena, you had Undertaker, you had Jay and Jimmy again come together and pretty much just fall off the side of the stage. Still not sure if that was planned. It was Solo again. They had the psychology of, him hitting, not one finisher, but his finisher with a spear. Cody still kicked out. And then if you're a big fan, if you're really into it, the psychology and the storytelling of what happened with Roman and Seth that ends up ultimately costing Roman the belt and his championship and the end of his run with choosing to hit Seth instead of paying attention to Cody is all-time great storytelling. Love Roman, hate Roman. Matt Godfrey said it somewhere else. This WrestleMania made them relevant and the undeniable leader again. I know a lot of people are happy that Cody won. I was still hoping there was going to be some shenanigans and they were just going to keep it on Roman. It just would have been really hard to not do it without damaging Cody. But that being said, that man carried that company for 4 years. Through COVID, through when there was no fans, kept them on top of cancer, kept them on top through AEW, and came up with a storyline with him, Paul Heyman, and Triple H. That is an all-time run. Like, I promise you, like I've said this, and people are like, nah, you're not going to see it again in our lifetime. I'm telling you, you're not. It is that rare. The man held the belt for almost 5 years. He was a draw. He was a spectacle. All the ins and outs and plot twists of the bloodline. It's still not over. If you think it's over, you're nuts. They're going to get back to it. Um, just genius. You got to give so much credit to Roman, and then obviously Paul and Triple H, and even Nick Khan behind the scenes. Just an absolute undeniable goat, incredible type run. Great match to be there. Like I said, when they got the 3 count with Cody, I've never heard that place louder ever. It was incredible.
Yeah, no, I definitely can see that. I will say, I know there's a lot of mixed opinions about ultimately how that matchup ended. I know a lot of people are happy that Cody went over. That's typically the consensus. My one gripe with it, and I know people are going to argue with me here. It's crazy, Bill. For you, it was probably insane the pop that when Undertaker's sound hit and when the crowd went completely dark. That pop was probably like undescribable. But for me, I just felt like that spot didn't make a lot of sense. Like it's fine because it's the cinema of everything. Like that 4 minute
This is
span
cinema.
there is going to be remembered forever. But I'm like, Undertaker there? Really? Like that's the guy. And I get it, he was around like when Dusty was around, and he had his spat before with Roman, and I understand all that. I just felt like that didn't make sense there. But I absolutely loved what they did when that Shield music hit. I was like, oh shit.
Yep.
What's about to come out? I'm like, and we even talked about like in our group message beforehand. And I told you guys after our show on Wednesday, I was like, if they can find a way to work it out and get like the Shield to come out, like that would be perfect. And then like I was like, I know, Moxley's under contract and all this other stuff, but then the music hit and I'm like, where are they coming from? Who all is it? Like that would have been like absolutely insane. So I love them doing that, even though Moxley didn't come back. Like that's fine. Them playing the music, it gave everybody the reaction that you wanted to have there.
Yeah, so I'm going to comment on 2 things you brought up. I'm going to start with Moxley first. The storytelling there would have been a little bit backwards only because Seth turned on Roman and Moxley twice. Like Moxley never turned on Roman. So that would have made a little bit like Godfrey just said, you could have made it make sense. Like, yeah, of course you can. You can write it any way you want. But um, he did that. Seth did that when he fought Roman, individually for the belt, year and a half, 2 years ago, because Roman's said in numerous promos over and over and over again that he's never gotten over the betrayal of Seth Rollins, and he's done it twice. And that was like I said, I mentioned it earlier. That was the long-term storytelling there. He has Seth up against the ropes with his back turned to him, and Cody on the other side of the ring. He's got the chair in his hands, and he couldn't help himself from getting revenge for what Seth did. Hits Seth with the chair, knocks him out of the ring. Ultimately, is what allows Cody to get the upper hand and win the match. It was just so well done. Godfrey hit the other thing around the head. The Undertaker spot was supposed to be Stone Cold. He declined. It's starting to eke out now, different places. He declined to do it because he thought all the run-in stuff was going to take away from Cody, and he didn't want to do it. Obviously, with the history between Rock and Stone Cold, that 1,000,000% wouldn't have been the dong. It would have been the glass shatter, and you would have Austin hauling ass down that ramp. I think the stadium probably would have caved in. As great as I'm telling you this, man. Cody's pop when he came out was great. Roman's was great, especially when Cody came out with that mask and he came out with Brandy. That was incredible. The crowd gave her an awesome pop as well, which was great. If that glass would have shattered and he was the last one in, and he would have got into it with Rock and stunned Rock, I'm telling you, the stadium might have come down. It would have been. It probably ends up being, if you take that and then knowing 3 minutes later that Cody's going to pin Roman, that is probably the best 5 minutes, most exciting goosebump inducing 5 minutes in the history of the company. It would have been nuts. It would have been nuts. That being said, The Undertaker was still cool. I'm not mad about it. Stone Cold's always been my guy. So I think that's what we were all expecting. That's what we were hoping for. Obviously, when we got, the dong and then it went dark, we knew that was kind of it. But, it was, dude, I said, I don't know the word to describe it. I've never been in a louder, more electric environment than I was Sunday night in that stadium for that. I'm so glad I went. It is a lifetime memory. So I couldn't be happier. Very curious to see where they go from here with a lot of stuff. I know I drunk called you at one point. It was just a good day, man. It was a good day. May or may not be a road trip to Cleveland this summer. I'm not sure, but
yeah, who knows what we put together before
we'll
WrestleMania
see
actually even happened.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But we're gonna move on from there because listen, talking about electric and everything else, we have the UFC card of all UFC cards here, and we are going to bring in one more special guest host for the evening. Is he ready?
He's ready.
Let's bring the man in. There
Ron.
he is. Ron, my
How's it
guy.
going?
Good. Thanks for joining us, sir.
For sure, no problem.
How you doing, Ron?
Hey, I'm still living.
I mean, hey, that's one way to keep it positive. I'm assuming you're excited for this card.
Oh man, this is the best card since UFC 200, so I am overly excited.
I agree. I said if you're a UFC fan on Saturday, like this is what your day is going to be. Like you are going to center your day around this pay-per-view. In Las Vegas, stars of all the stars are going to be there. This card, when I tell you, even if you're a casual fan, I promise you, if you're a casual fan, the prelims and the main event, those 10 fights, you probably know every single person that's in all 10 of those fights, even if you're a casual. If not,
sure.
you at least know one person in all 10, and you probably know both people in 7 or 8 of them. Dana did an amazing job with this card. Got to give him his flowers. This is going to be, I don't know if we ever see this again. I guess we'll say UFC 400 when we get there, but this is going to be the card of all cards. So let's not waste a lot of time. We got him. We got Cottrell, got Ron. Let's just get into it. I want you guys to be able to get through all these fights and not have to rush. So give me a graphic.
I got you. But before, so we're going to go over the entire. We never do this. We're going to go over the entire main card because it's special. Before we start though, Ron, real quick, obviously we're going to get more information on Road to Gold on Saturday. They're giving you a special show this week. It's going to be on Saturday because the card's that big. But before we get into it, Ron, are there any fights not on this main card that you are super excited to see? Any that stick out to you, or just the entire card?
So man, honestly, it's actually so tough because the whole card's so good that each fight you look into the next fight and it's like, man, like it one ups itself. There's maybe 2 fights that you could debate or maybe out of place, you can say. I kind of see why they did it that way, but besides that, it's very hard. There are some earlier fights that we myself and Dylan went over last week that were pretty good that I do believe should stay probably in the prelims, but I mean Yuri, we have to talk about Yuri. That is one fight that should have been in this main card. Yuri Prochazka playing Alexander. I mean, the former champion. He fought Pereira not too long ago. That's a big fight in itself because whoever wins that fight might very well find themselves back into a title contention the very next fight.
All right, fair enough. I'm the Yuri guy on our show, so I love to hear that. But we're gonna start it off here with the first fight on this card here. You got Bo Nickel, undefeated. I feel like that's the name that everybody knows right now. Still's not ranked, which is crazy, but going up against Cody Brundage at 185. Ron, if you want to go ahead and start us off, Bill, you can go after that, and then we can kind of just roll through these as we go.
Look, I'm gonna keep it honest here. I did my best to watch some Cody Brundage film. I really tried to dissect it and say, what's his path to a win here? What is his path? He's also a grappler, so that already was a problem. You're also a grappler. He's good. Watching film, I saw he was able to take good control, get his opponents to the ground. If you weren't knowledgeable on what to do in a certain position, it definitely the round could drag out with him on top of you at him just having position. He's not a super elbows, hooks from the ground and pound type guy. Like he wants to do that obviously, but he's positioned over everything. He's not going to try to mess up what he has going on in the moment. But when you look at his skill set and compare it to Bo is a superstar in the making. Bo is the future. Bo is fighting to pretty much get the fastest way possible to the top 10. Cody isn't that. Bro is the golden boy right now. This is, even look at the odds. The odds are just so lopsided. It should be honestly a railroad of a fight, for being honest, because your best thing happens to be not as good as what the other guy's best thing is. And Bo is just so much of a class above him on the ground. Collegiate wrestler, one of the best wrestlers coming out of college that has translated into the UFC. I mean, his striking is even getting better. Bo's striking is getting better. Great flash knockout in his last fight. I mean, it's unfortunate, Cody, but this may not be your night.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with anything Ron just said. Cody's going to become the guy. It's going to be really nice to have on your resume 2 years from now when you fought him 5 fights ago. But I mean, just look at. I mean, he's a year younger, taller, same weight, obviously, 4-inch reach. He's the better wrestler. Bo just holds the advantage everywhere here. Like Ron said, if Bo was a little bit inexperienced and maybe would get caught on the bottom or something like that, you see maybe a way for Cody to steal a round here or there. Cody's not taking Bo down. It's just not going to happen. His striking is getting better. Bo is, he is. He's a rising. So he's a budding superstar. That's what he is. And they're pushing him. And he's starting off the card, for that reason, to get him on here. Continue to get him more press, more lights, more eyes on him. He's going to be a guy that's going to have a title fight in the next year, probably year and a half, if that long. That's what they're grooming him for. I think Bo wins. I think anything short of Cody having a flash knockout and just landing that miracle punch, I don't see a path to victory here for him. I don't. So I agree with Ron. I think this is another really big Bo showcase to start off the card.
I'm going with Bo as well. I hate to just agree with everything everybody's saying, but the reality of the situation is Bo is the real deal. Bo is going to finish this fight. He's going to finish it in the first round. He's either going to knock him out or he's going to sub him in that first round. I feel like Cody is going to probably come out and test Bo's wrestling, which you'd think, Bo's a 3-time national champion when it comes to wrestling. Why would you go out and try and test it? I think you have to try and get a feel for that fight. If you, in the back of your mind, if you just go toe to toe with a guy like Bo and, you test his striking and see where he's at there, in the back of your mind, that he's a better grappler than you. No matter how much you believe in yourself, he's a better grappler than you. So at some point, even if you are winning that stand-up, Bo's going to try and take it to the ground. So my game plan coming in, if I was Cody, I would just test the waters, maybe, shoot as if I'm going for a takedown, see how Bo reacts to it. He's going to shoot back at you. And maybe if you can stuff that first one or that second one, you get a matchup where Bo will stand there and strike with you just because he wants to, feel you out. And maybe he feels like you may be the grappler that's on the same level as him. We've never seen Bo have any adversity in any of his fights. So why not try and potentially get him off his game, especially because grappling is your strong suit? I still got Bo by first round. Also, I think it'll be a TKO. But I think Cody's best bet in this one would be to try and just grapple with him right out the gate. Now,
what we got next? Let's see.
Next one. For those of you that don't know, Charles Oliveira is actually one of Ron's favorite fighters. Probably top three. Top three? Is that easily? You say that's about right?
Easily.
Going up against Arman Tsarukyan, who's been one of the fast risers in the lightweight division. I guess I'll start us out here just because I went last on the last one here. This one's tough. This is probably one of the fights on this main card, at least, where I'm like, this really could go either way. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys.
Mm.
I need Charles to win this fight because I want to see what he's like in another fight against Islam Makhachev. All show long, we've been talking about finishing the story. And we were supposed to get Charles and Islam before that Islam and Volk fight. Ultimately, Charles got a cut, couldn't fight. I want to see Charles ultimately try and finish the story. I think he is an incredible talent, and I think against Arman, experience is going to reign supreme here. I think Arman is going to have the advantage for a good portion of this fight. I think the end of the second, maybe early third, Arman might get a knockdown. He gets Charles on the ground, and Charles catches him in a spot that he doesn't want to be in. I could see him, transitioning to getting the guillotine, something like that, maybe a rear naked. But I got Charles by third round submission.
I'm going to echo a lot of what you said. I've become a big Charles fan over the last 3 years, especially since he's kind of gone on this like meteoric rise and kind of really just found like his prime, and started just lopping off big win after big win after big win. I think Arman comes out hot. I agree with you, but I've just seen it too many times where I feel like a lot of people think we're right on the tipping point of Charles getting finished or getting really hurt. He's the guy that just continually pulls fights out of the fire. Out of nowhere, he'll just land a kick or land a big combination, or he's on top of somebody. I mean, the guy gets anybody on the ground, he's on a different planet, jiu-jitsu wise. I don't think it's anywhere Arman wants to be. I think in a weird way, to Cottrell's point with the experience, I think Charles is comfortable no matter where this fight goes, and I don't think Arman can say that. I think a lot of people could say that they're confident on the ground, they're this, they're that, kind of like we talked about last fight. You might think you're a better wrestler than Bo. Deep down in your soul, you know you're not. Arman could say he'll be comfortable on the ground with Charles. Deep down in places he doesn't talk about at parties, he knows he's not. That's not where he wants to be. I like Charles. I think Charles pulls it out some way, somehow. I'm obviously on the same boat as Cottrell. Give me Charles Islam. I need to see that, sooner rather than later. But I went against him too many times when we first started this show, and the man's made me a believer. And he's made me a fan, and I really, really do like him now. So I'm all aboard Charles Oliveira for this weekend.
Hey, all of that makes sense. Those are great points, everybody, because it's the truth. Charles said, "Where's my belt?" He's looking for that right now. Where is my belt? Where is it? Look, I'll give Arman this. He's technical. He does his best not to get in bad situations. He takes really great control on the ground against your average, grappler. I'm gonna give it the first round will probably be kind of slow. Arman, I believe he has to know he's not the same striker Charles is. He doesn't want to trade with Charles. Charles is too crazy. Flying knee, crane kick, combination to a left hook. And Charles is going to go forward. He's going to be willing to trade with Arman. Arman isn't going. He's going to circle, not get caught up. He's going to look for Charles in the entry for a takedown. And if I believe Arman is such a smart fighter, you're going to see him the most defensive you've ever seen him probably on the ground. He's not going to go out his way to try to do too many transitions. You're going to see him try to ground and pound. I don't know if he's going to be comfortable really trying to ground and pound, though. He's not going to be fighting like himself. He knows the threat he's going up against. I feel like come the second round, they're going to open up more. Charles may drop the first round because of just the situation of how Arman may choose to fight the first round. Come second round, though, he knows takedown's coming. They're going to strike. Let's say takedown actually happens again. At that point, Arman's going to probably get a little too, he's going to get a little too confident. He's going to, you know what? I did all that the first round. Let me start, trying to put it on him. Come on, son. You should have knew better. You should have knew. That's when you see Charles throw up a triangle, an arm bar. You see him start moving to the back, taking a leg. He'll either go for a sweep and get back up, or he'll stay on the ground. Charles is very much known for keeping his back on the ground. You can stand up if you want to. I'm here all day. I want to be here. People don't want to be here with me. And Armin may be the guy that he wants to see on the ground. Armin is very technical. I think he's very good, but I feel like he may even talk himself out of this fight. He may feel Charles is that big of a threat where he's either going to lay and try to be so cautious, and then Charles is going to either eventually submit him. I believe that could be late second, early third round, or Armin's going to try to be the gamer that we've seen him be in the past, possibly, and Charles is going to either clip him, or if he doesn't stun him, rear naked choke.
So which one you're going with officially?
This is Charles Oliveira all day. Where's my belt?
What round? What round and way of victory?
I'm gonna go late second armbar.
Okay. All right. Well, you ended us with the last one. Go ahead, start us off with this one, Ron. Fighting for the BMF belt.
This is a fight for the fans.
Another banger.
Like, I understand why it was originally concocted. Neither fighter kind of had anything coming their way anytime soon. UFC 300 they need to have one of these guys on there at the least bit. Why not have them fight each other? This is gonna be a brawl. Like, I don't know what to even say about this. Justin Gaethje, he's become more technical over his last maybe 2 or 3 fights. His fight with Poirier particularly was very shocking, because where I thought where Poirier was gonna win that fight off of purely that he was gonna be the more technical fighter, Justin Gaethje showed me a little bit otherwise. He showed me that he can rise his game up to a different level as well, which I wasn't prepared for, especially so later into his career. So I was surprised about that. And then coming from where I saw that for a flash knockout head kick win, that showed me a lot. That showed me so much growth, where this fight becomes even that much more interesting. Because if Max Holloway, who we know who Max and how Max gets down, he's going to point at the ground. He's going to sit there and trade, throw lefts and rights, a whole bunch of strikes. He's going to come at you with so much volume. He's going to try to overwhelm you consistently. I don't know if he has the knockout power in this weight class to catch Justin Gaethje, or at least make him feel as if he's to respect him. I don't know if Justin Gaethje is going to respect Max's power. He's going to feel a lot of strikes. I don't know if Justin's going to he's going to get that one stun that makes him like, okay, like Max actually may knock me out. Justin's done this with the best of them. He's been in there with all kind of strikers, going toe to toe in just some of the best fights we've seen. So is Max. If this fight goes the distance, I can see Max winning, but I look, the growth on Justin, and I think he's really determined this time to really get the belt. I'm gonna go Justin Gaethje here with a third round knockout. I know a lot of people who are fan favorites want to go with Max Holloway. People want to see the rise of Max. I get that, but Justin Gaethje, I think actually this is the one he may pull out.
I'm a big Gaethje guy, so I'm going Gaethje here. Ron, you brought up a lot of things that I was going to say, so I'm going to be brief here. I think he's a guy that, believe it or not, even at the age of 35, he's still getting better and he's still evolving. You mentioned the Dustin Poirier fight. Surprised a lot of people there. I think Max's big thing is his biggest advantage he has against a lot of people is that he can push the pace. Gaethje's one of those, never an empty tank guy. Gaethje can keep coming forward no matter what. I think that nullifies a lot of what Max can do. I agree with you on the power thing as well. I don't think Justin has to worry about getting knocked out here. I think the only way Max can win this fight is if he literally sits in the middle of the ring and outstrikes him. And you've already mentioned, I think Justin is the better technical striker. I think Justin gets it done. I think Justin lands the blows he has to. Probably sprinkles in, a takedown here and there maybe to help steal around. I think Gaethje gets it done though and moves on to we'll see where he goes. But I like Gaethje to win here.
So I'm okay with you guys picking Gaethje and things like that. Ron, you made me roll my eyes a bit when you talked about Max Holloway getting knocked out. I don't know who you think Max Holloway is, but a guy that's getting knocked out is not him. Max Holloway will not get knocked out by Justin Gaethje. The other thing I'll say is that in this matchup, you talk about Max Holloway not having the power at 155. Well, I'll one up you and I'll sell you that precision beast power. Look at what
Oh
Conor
god,
McGregor was able to do
I saw that
with
coming.
with just one punch. I think in this matchup, like you said, Ron, I think you said it perfectly. This is a matchup for the fans. I don't think, well, I think Justin has the advantage in terms of grappling and wrestling and getting this fight to the ground if it did get muddy. I just don't think this fight will ever get there. And if you're going to give me a full fight of just stand up between Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway, I feel like I'd be a fool not to pick Max Holloway. So I see this fight being on the feet, the entirety of the fight. And I got to go with Max Holloway there. I don't care that he's going up to 10 pounds. I think he's ready. This is a guy who's a gamer. He's ready to fight whoever, whenever, with whatever stipulations are out there. I'm going with Blust here. I just think that he's going to be ready to rock and roll. And I think the reason that he wins is because Justin Gaethje is going to buy into the hype of the crowd and things like that, and ultimately not take the fight to the ground where he would have the advantage.
You don't think Max do the same exact thing? He's a big crowd guy. He's talking to Daniel Cormier in the middle of the fight, saying I'm the best boxer, getting hype from the crowd.
No, for sure. But Max will do that while he's doing what he's best at. Max's claim to fame is his striking. Like that's why Max is what he is. And you can do that while talking. I'm saying that Justin buys into it like, oh, these crazy exchanges, like the fans are cheering loud as possible. Fans aren't cheering when you're taking guys to the ground. So I'm saying like that's what Justin's gonna buy into. I don't think he takes the fight to the ground when he needs to against Max.
When they trade, I guess this is my thing. When they get down to it and they start trading, what does Max do when the trading and the punches start flying?
Punch back.
Because like I said, he's a volume guy, especially in this weight class. He's a volume guy. How do you use your volume to out trade Justin, who's most likely the more powerful striker here?
So what I'll say this, and I'll reference the Gaethje and Michael Chandler fight. Now, obviously, I know Gaethje ultimately won it, but it felt like in that fight, it could have at any point gone any way. And I get it. Chandler is more natural at that weight class, probably has more power at that weight class. I trust Max's ability. And if you're getting into a brawl, I don't know if there's many people in the UFC I'd pick against a guy like Max Holloway.
Max
I
is
just don't think
lucky
it's
this
being wrong.
isn't nothing to do with lightweight because I think this is going to be an L here, and if this was to affect the rankings there, I would be very disappointed. But ultimately, hey, we all entitled to our own opinions. We'll have to see what exactly happens there. But Justin Gaethje leg kicks also going to be a factor, and I
Bill,
don't
you
know if
said you
Max
don't think
has a counter for that either.
you don't think it's going to be a brawl, Bill?
I don't think it's going to be a brawl in the sense where I think it's going to be guys like we both said it. I think they're both technical strikers. I don't think it's going to be a situation where people just run into the middle of the ring and start throwing haymakers. I don't think it's going to be a brawl in that sense.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, let's go ahead and get into our co-main event of the evening. You got Weili Zhang going against Yan Xiaonan for Weili's belt here. And we'll start us off here. If you look at the teletape, these women are damn near identical. I just feel like for me personally, Weili's going to get it done here. The way Weili's looked in her past 2 or 3 fights, she's looked damn near unstoppable. And I don't see Yan, putting any stock in the change in that. So I like Weili to ultimately get this done here. I think it will be a fight that does not go the distance. I think Yan is as tough as it gets and can potentially provide some problems in the grappling department. But ultimately, I'm going with a Weili win, TKO 3rd round.
Okay.
I like Weili as well. I think she's looked a lot better, and I think she has her confidence back. She's looked more composed ever since she's got her belt back from Rose. I just think she's the more well-rounded fighter. Nothing against Jan. I think Weili is kind of just back on the path that we thought she was going to stay on for a long time. I think she has more roads to victory, which is always a big thing. I'm just not sure where Yan is definitely better. And I think if they stay in front of each other, then I think Weili eventually, starts to pick her apart. So I don't know if I've ever seen a comparison that identical. Like literally, the only thing that's different is 1 inch in height. That's kind of wild. But that being said, I will back. Gene is probably very happy down in Mexico. Weili is his girl. But I'm going to go with Weili on this. I think she wins. I think she looks good doing it too.
So I think this is actually a pretty interesting matchup because if Jan can't do it, I don't think anyone in the division can. But what makes this interesting is that I do believe Weili is more well-rounded, and I do believe she's going to win this fight. I want to say that first. But a stat I noticed was that Jan has a 71% takedown defense, which Weili is very strong. Weili, we've seen, I don't know if you guys seen videos. She's picked up Shaq. She's picked up Shaq several times. She's strong. She can do way more than you even think she probably can. But I feel like Jan has a very weird skill set. She's a really good striker, very technical. Though Weili is the better striker, she comes off to me more as a better counter striker than any other counter striker. She wants to see you jab first, hook first, and she's coming back with the craziest combo she can get off on you, and it may come with an elbow and maybe a leg kick, maybe a left hook, right hook. You don't know what's coming, but you know it's going to be hard. It's going to hit you and stun you. Jan is comfortable whether she's walking you down or kind of filling you out. Which the last person who was in that type of striking style as Weili, or not type of style to be like a little bit ambidextrous when it comes to being able to push forward or counter, was Rose. And we've seen, though Weili won most of those encounters, she won them mostly with power because she was able to stun Rose with less punches, where Rose was able to touch Weili a lot of the times more. So I think this is actually this fight may be a better fight people think it is. I do agree Weili probably does end up the winner, but I think this is going to be an exciting striking battle where both women are going to have to really get into their corners, talk to their corners, figure out counters for whatever happened last round, because this is more, I believe, competitive than what people may just think naturally about these two women.
I agree. And when me speaking about her grappling, it was more so in a sense of her ability to defend the takedown. And I think that's going to be important because Weili can, she strikes at a high level as well, but you can tell in a lot of fights, she goes for that early takedown. I don't know if it's to build confidence or just to establish dominance in the fight. And you see that that's what she wants. She wants to dominate you in all aspects of a fight. So it will be interesting to see if Jan can ultimately stay on her feet, not get to the mat in that one. I just think, Weili's at the top of her game right now, and, it's going to be tough for her to get beat. But with all that said, we are going to be going on to the main event of the evening. You got Alex Pereira going up against Jamal Hill for the light heavyweight championship. Ron, as it's been going, you ended the last one. Go ahead and kick us off with this one.
Look, I get called a hater, especially by Dylan, about Jamal Hill. I respect Jamal Hill. I want to put that out there first. I see his skill. I recognize his skill. I know he is one of the better strikers in the division, and he has crazy power. But outside of his fight against Glover, he doesn't have too many more wins that makes me like, man, this guy's elite. Like, I just don't see it. I need to see him fight other guys. And hey, this is Alex Pereira we're talking about. And then him coming out saying multiple times he's not going to wrestle, he's going to strike. He doesn't see what the hype is. Like, I get it. Some of it's just promotion. He's just trying to get a little hype for the fight. But at the same time, I wholeheartedly believe he's going to go out there, strike, not try to take anyone down. And you're not going to win a pure striking match with Alex. If he goes in there with that mentality, he better be trying to make it as dirty as humanly possible. Clinch work, a whole lot of dirty boxing, getting in the phone booth, throwing hooks and haymakers, maybe some leg kicks, slow Alex down a little bit. But if the longer this fight goes on, the more I have to believe Alex is going to be the winner. If this fight does get into a championship rounds, it's gonna be a puncher's chance for Jamal Hill to get a win here. I respect Jamal. I like Jamal a lot. I just don't know if he has the ability or maybe the striking experience to really withhold a 5-round fight with Alex Pereira. That's crazy to me.
I'm gonna agree with my man Ron again. I'm not a hater of Jamal Hill. I don't think I don't have a bad word to say about him per se. I agree though. I think this is a step up. This is a different kind of environment and a different kind of fighter that he's going to fight. Alex Pereira, I think at some points, has looked absolutely incredible, and other times he's looked a little vulnerable. Notwithstanding the Izzy fight where he landed that amazing counter, that kind of caught him and knocked him out. But I think Alex is going to come forward, and Alex is going to do his thing, and I think it's going to come down to could Jamal Hill withstand that onslaught at the beginning, not get tagged, not get hurt, and kind of stay in the pocket, still land points, and kind of weather the storm, and maybe drag this fight out a little bit longer. I do think the longer this fight goes, I think it favors Hill more. I just don't know if it's going to. I think if Alex lands, one of those devastating hooks or anything like that, I think we're going night. So I think Pereira wins. I think he retains, and I think he ends the fight, via TKO.
All right, so again, I'm gonna be on the opposite side of you guys with this one. As much as I like Alex, I think Alex is in a spot where for Jamal Hill, I'll say this. I think Jamal Hill has to realize he absolutely has to check leg kicks. Like that's going to be his determining factor if he wins or loses this fight. If he can check those leg kicks and essentially take away one of Alex's most dangerous weapons, and it's just a striking match, you're literally, it's basically a boxing match. You're going blow for blow with each other. I have to take Jamal Hill here. I know the power that Jamal has, and of course, saying, "Hey, let's just stop Alex's leg kicks and you win the fight." Like that's much easier said than done, and I understand that. I just think that in that last Izzy fight, we saw that it is possible to get on Alex's chin and put him down, and I think Jamal Hill has the power to do that. And if he can make Alex a little bit more one-dimensional and stop the leg kicks from making an impact in the fight, then that's going to give him a great shot to win this. Because if it's a boxing match and not a kickboxing match, I like Jamal Hill's chances a lot. So I think Jamal's going to find ways to neutralize that leg kick. Of course, some are going to get through. Some might even, Alex might even start going to the body as the fight goes on with some of those leg kicks. But ultimately, I think Jamal Hill is going to catch Alex at a time that is just very, very unfortunate. I think Alex is going to be up 2-1 in that fourth round, maybe like 40, 35 seconds left in it. Alex maybe tries to push the pace a little bit too much, and Jamal Hill catches him with something surprising and ultimately puts him out. So I got Jamal Hill, fourth round, knockout, and new to end the night on Saturday.
Yeah, hell of an ending.
I don't know about that one though.
Hey, you don't have to know about it, but you'll see it.
We'll see. He needs to wrestle. He needs to stop playing with him. His wrestling is his best way to go about it. But going off of his word, he's not going to do that. So I don't know.
Well, Ron, we appreciate having you on. Like I said before, Road to Go is going to be back on special time on Saturday. We'll get some more information to you guys as that gets closer on. But before we get you on out of here, is there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest?
Not today, honestly. Coming upon us on Saturday, we'll be for sure locking in, talking about a little bit of a deeper dive in some of these fights. arguing, I'm sure, about some of these fights and these fighters. I appreciate you guys for having me. I appreciate being here today. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe. Can't wait to recap. Can't wait to recap.
All right, Ron, we appreciate you, man.
Ron, thanks, brother.
For sure.
All right, man. We actually we ended up kind of pretty much ending on time. I'm impressed. There's a lot in that show. Glad we got to do it. Glad we got to hold it down for Gene. Gene, we miss you. He will be back next week. He'll be back from Mexico, probably have a tan. He'll be spouting off how he's more handsome now. It's a lie. Don't worry about it.
Crying about Taylor moving on.
Oh boy.
Gene, I love you. I know you're gonna hear that tomorrow. You're gonna be like, God damn it.
You said that, Eric Taylor. It's gonna happen. Just let it happen. I don't have it. You got to be kidding me. I told you what mine was going to be. Mine's way too much of a rant. We don't have time for it. I will save it for next week. Do you have one, sir?
I do. So mine's going to be, and I'm going to post the video just because I don't have it ready for you guys. I'm sorry I was slacking, but mine's going to be coming from the Chicago Bulls game. I believe it was yesterday. They were going up against the Detroit Pistons, and I believe it was Torrey Craig. He got a steal, and he's going up on a fast break. And he's all by himself, and he tries to throw an alley-oop to himself off the backboard. So he throws it off the backboard, but he doesn't know that Andre Drummond is running right behind him full speed. So the ball goes off the backboard, and Andre Drummond thinks the ball's coming to him. So he jumps up, and he grabs the ball while Torrey Craig's also trying to grab the ball. They both try and dunk it. They miss. And this is in the second quarter of a game that's either tied or within 2 points. So for me this week, the Chicago Bulls being the disgrace of a basketball team that they are and just doing this silly thing in the middle of a game that's as close as it is.
You gotta be kidding me.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end. Great show. A lot of fun, man. Glad we got everything in. We had a lot to recap tonight. But, another great show. 183. Yeah, it's crazy we have 183 shows.
Facts.
But that is, we're catching UFC at this pace. Wire to wire 200 before we know it. That being said, any final thoughts, buddy?
I got nothing, man. I had fun tonight, looking forward to more sports this week. Obviously, UFC, Masters, everything that we talked about. And can't wait for Gene to be back. And, we can tell him how much fun we had while he wasn't here.
Yeah, that always makes him happy. But as always, pleasure to do this with you. It was, again, I think it's a great show. We had a lot of fun, a lot of content. Hope everybody at home enjoyed it. And we will be back normal time next week. Gene will be back, and we will see you then. So for this week, have a great weekend. Enjoy the Masters. Enjoy UFC. Enjoy all sports. That's what we're here for. So we are signing off. 183 is in the books. We will see you guys next week.
See you.